To start the recording. Start that now. I'm talking to my computer and I've got somebody sitting here in the room. It's very weird because you're all online. The Arts Council now has a page on the website, just like any of the committees or commissions. The Arts Council is a subcommittee of the EDC, and it says that right there at the beginning. And the minutes and agendas are posted there. I uploaded a little bit of background information, the sort of pre-organizing meetings that have been held over the last year and a half. And then actually I dipped back all the way to EDC 2016. You all had a conversation. I think Dan is probably the only, Dan, Fran, and Lisa were probably here, and Chris actually, during the conversation that the EDC had about the arts. I think it was arts and crafts and conservation. The word was sort of that WACA, yeah. The acronym. So some really interesting information there about placemaking and the things that arts bring to the community. So I uploaded that as to just pre-organizing meeting information. So we'll be taking a look at that at the Arts Council. On Thursday of this week, Connecticut Main Street Group Association, I forget what the last, Connecticut Main Street is an organization that, and they're having a webinar on declaring a cultural district, which the Arts Council is thinking about. And I think that we have questions about what exactly that means and what exactly the benefits of that would be, but I think promotion is one of them. We had Steph Burr from the Northwest Connecticut Arts Council come back in November to talk about the cultural districts, and she says, and it was declared, there was a state statute that said towns could now do this. And she said that she feels that there will be money in the future tied to these, so it would be potentially beneficial to go ahead and establish one. We would most likely be thinking of the depot. It's supposed to be a walkable district that has arts offerings. So I'll keep you posted on that. And the whole idea of sort of placemaking and creating some cohesion and a place to come to is what I think is really exciting about that holiday, as well as promoting any of our arts organizations and businesses. So I think that's mostly it for the Arts Council. Fran, did you want to add anything?
I think you've pretty well covered it. I had to find myself so I could get on.
That's fine. Thank you. All right, the photo contest for the winter is open. I forgot to ask Julia how many submissions we've had. I did send the information about the contest to the schools that had media departments. I think it was Chappaqua and Rumsey and Frederick Gunn School. I got those contacts from ASAPs. They do the young photographers contest. So I forwarded that along, and that closes, I think, March 15th. So, but as Robin was saying, we need at least one more good snow so all the photographers can get out there and take those iconic winter pictures that we will need for next year's promotions. So fingers crossed, because right now everything is dreary. The WBA workshop was held the end of January. It was at the Judy Black Park, and I think we had about 20 people in attendance, and then possibly the Zoom option was available. I think somebody had logged in, but also by offering it hybrid, we were able to record it, and the WBA was able to share the recording with its members. And when I last looked, it looked like it had been viewed at least 10 times. So I think people found it useful. Julia Nabel came from Explore Washington and shared a really great presentation on 3 ways to promote your business. And Jim Britton came and, the two of us sort of, just asked the businesses what more the town could be doing to support them, or if they had any, concerns. A couple of the things that were brought up are things that have come up at the EDC. One was, continuing to try to focus on that municipal parking lot and the signage for it, which we talked about. And also just looking at possibly some better signage for the depot, some directional signs, or to make people aware from the main roads that there are businesses tucked in on the plaza and back on Titus, etc. Which is interesting because signage also came up at the Arts Council, as just making sure people that are coming through on 202 and some of the other state roads know that we're here. And so anyway, signage came up. Let's see, while we're on the topic of the workshop, Lisa or Fran, did you want to add anything to that? No.
No.
Okay. The other thing I would say is I think that the intention is to do it again at some point. So we'll see. The next I had there was the Litchfield Magazine's Reader's Choice Awards. I hopefully you all saw that. I mean, get the magazine, which looks like this. And I put a notice in the selectmen's email, and we're also putting a little congratulations in the town newsletter, because the Washington businesses did extraordinarily well. There were, by my count, and I went through just tallying through the list, and by my account, we let's see, had 79 awards. And the unofficial account, yeah, it was amazing. And the unofficial account, I just want to say that is unofficial, it's just me kind of like going through and telling. New Milford had 61, Litchfield 50 with Bantam, another 10. So if you count those together, that's 60. So those were the two closest next to it. And this is for all of Litchfield County. So just really remarkable. And what I think, the reason I'm bringing this up, well, multiple reasons I think the EDC should be in tune with this. One is just to acknowledge the work that our businesses are doing. But also, this is a Reader's Choice Award, so it's not a scientific, they aren't graded on, it's not like US News and World Report where there's acceptance rates or something. So it's a Reader's Choice. That means our businesses are doing a good job of reaching out to their consumers, to their customers, and engaging with them. And Explore and the social media that we have helps them. So it helps them engage. When they post something on Instagram and then we forward it or pass it along through ours, it gets it to a wider audience. So I really think that some of the success that we're seeing here in Washington is due to the efforts of the EDC and the Explorer website and the social media in helping our businesses get the word out, because we're very small. We're a small community, we're small residents and small business districts. We don't have huge commercial zones like Torrington and New Milford and Litchfield. Litchfield's larger than we are. So we really did a great job. And I just want to congratulate all those businesses and to keep up the good work. So the only other thing I threw on the agenda was affordable housing, just to let you all know that is still in the forefront of a lot of conversations wherever I go. Organizations recognize the need and the challenge of affordable housing. I'm continuing to work with the Housing Commission to promote the work that they're doing. And you did me, visitor. So anyway, that's I just wanted to let you know that continues to be a conversation. Came up again at the Arts Council. as just something that people are aware of as a challenge, so. Oh, last thing, I forgot to write down, new businesses. So last week, Jim and myself and some people from the selectman's office went to an open house / blessing of regional hospice, which is just now opened in the depot, right, sort of above Hickory Stick there. And they will be offering some counseling some groups for like grievance groups and support groups for caretakers and I know all sorts of great things. And I will be putting an announcement. I've sent the announcement to them just to have them check the wording, but I'll put that in the first selectman's email. I just think it's a nice way to let the community know when we have a new business that has arrived. And then also last week, Trisha and I went and spoke with Krit from Inari, which is the new Asian bistro, which is also in the depot. It's been a sort of a soft opening Thursday through Sunday. Only dinners except for on the weekend, lunch and dinner. So we went and spoke with him, put together an announcement for that opening as well in the selectman's email and just chatted with him about ways to promote the business, make sure he's on Explore, help maybe get some kind of a press release together. Also talked about a sandwich board, some signage to just let people know that they're there and they're open, because it's a little hard when they're tucked in, not on one of the main state roads, to know that their business is sort of interior to there. And on that point, I know Trisha, you can add to that, but Trisha, actually, is there a name for that little part of the Titus block? Does anyone do we call that a certain place? Anybody?
Trish, you're muted.
Trish, you're muted.
Here I am. It would be helpful if there was a name to be able to direct, oh, it's such and such plaza. But all I have is 4 Green Hill Road, which is Marty's and the cleaners and, you know.
Yeah, I know. I feel like just around here, people will say, oh, behind Marty's or next to Marty's or across from Marty's. They
Well,
use that as sort of the
the hub,
touch point.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's out on the corner and most people know where it is. Whereas
Yeah.
the next building, everybody knows Hickory Stick, so they'll say above it or next to it or
Exactly. So it
whatever.
would be helpful if there was a name. If you're doing signs, maybe we could think of a name and do some kind of name for it.
Well, you know what's interesting? I'm just thinking about it. They do have directory signs, each side, out front that has the address at the top and then all of the businesses listed below.
Yeah.
But I think they're getting a little worn. I wonder, I don't know who's, it's probably, those buildings are like not co-op. It's like condo, they each own their own space. I don't know who's in charge of maintaining those signs, but maybe the address is really the way to go for Green Hill to Green Hill. Because it's at the top of the sign instead of creating another name.
Yeah.
Just so that people kind of refer to it as the shops at Green Hill or something.
Yeah, driving by, it's hard to read all of those names though.
It's true, true. And so it'd be nice to have sort of a name
Walking
for.
is no problem, but driving.
Yeah, no, agree.
So think about it.
Dan, Fran, you guys have been around for a while. Do we have any thoughts on what do people refer to those businesses, those clusters of businesses?
I defer to Fran.
I think Marty's and Hickory Stick are the reference points, and that, as Trish says, is not at all helpful if you're driving by and if you don't know where you're going.
Right.
I mean, it's confusing in terms of mail, it's confusing in terms of all kinds of things. So a solution would be wonderful, but I don't know what it is.
All right. Oh, that's a good, it's a good point. I have heard that before too, that even mail is a challenge. That people can't really find anything. So I wonder if, the businesses that are facing Green Hill all have a Green Hill address. But then the ones on the backside.
And of course, Judy
that's-
Black is one Green Hill, I believe.
Right. I think, so. I think you're right.
I don't know what happened to 3.
I don't know.
Washed
What's
away in the
Barbara?
flood.
I wonder what Barbara is.
Oh, right.
Fouye lighting. I'll have to ask. Anyway, it's food for thought as we're kind of thinking about the visuals
Yeah.
and the signage for the depot
Signs,
and
yeah.
just,
Keep in
making
mind.
sure people know. I'm just writing that
I think-
down.
I think Barbara goes by River Road. Her mailbox is on River Road.
Oh,
I think
Oh.
she's one. Yeah. I think she's either 2, because we're 3. Yeah, I thought she went by River Road because that's where her FedEx is, on River Road for drop off and her mailbox.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
just thought shops at Green
Well-
Hill sounds good. That would have a good ring to it.
right, shops at Green Hill kind of would cover almost that whole corner, because then I think once you get down to the interior, that's Titus. Is Pantry's address at Titus?
I think pantry is Titus.
Even though Titus is on their backside and they
Yeah.
face the parking lot?
Yeah, pantry is tightest.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting thing to think about, because we've got the plaza, shops at Bryan Hall Plaza. So let's kind of store that away for future as we think about all of that.
Well, as you talk about that and you talk about signage, the discussion would be how to connect all of them so everything because a lot of the Bryan Hall Plaza, whatever, doesn't have it. There's no sign that tells you what's in Bryan Hall Plaza. We've been saying that forever, and even down, River, there's no sign. I mean, obviously Green Hill is the only one that has that sign out front that has the list of the shops that are within Green Hill. I'm saying,
Well, so it's
It would be nice.
interesting. So the Green Hill signs are what in the zoning regs are called directory signs. But then just beyond it, on Green Hill on the corner, Titus, there's a post that has what they call directional signs. And it says Titus, the pantry, Titus garage. I think Bird and the Bee is on there with an arrow, letting you know that they're down there along Titus. So.
right, but it would be nice to make all of them similar. It'd just be nice to have consistency, I guess is my word.
Uniform.
Yeah,
Consistency would be nice,
something
but
along
also, even if like Titus Plaza, not Titus Plaza, Bryan Hall Plaza. Did something similar to the Titus directional signs. Then that would be similar. I don't know, we'll have to think about it, because there's 2 different things going, there's the directional sign, which is what you do in a building that has multiple tenants in it, and then. That's the directory sign, and then the directional is the one for businesses not on the main road, and you're allowed one sign to at the main road to point. So between those 2, we can maybe come up with something for the plaza and, the plaza, because it has nothing, and then maybe something that's a little more clear for the shops at Green Hill, on the Green Hill ones, so. Yeah, food for thought. We've added that, it's come up a couple of times. And it might need to be sort of a committee that works on that. And brings the recommendations back to the EDC. So let's think about that. We don't have everybody here today, so maybe we can. And then maybe the WBA can also talk to the executive committee, and maybe next month we can talk about. Getting some volunteers for a committee to take a look at that. Which will lead into my, the next, agenda item, which is just to share next year's budget request. Unless anyone has questions before we move on. Does anyone have questions about on the activities of the last month or comments?
I have a
suggestions?
question, Michelle, that I wanted to, just as a point of clarification. I understand that the childcare center is no longer an option over at the central office. Is that correct?
Well, sort of. It's not being discussed at the moment. The new superintendent was really, and the chair was really focused on working on this year's school budget because they had a lot of moving pieces and concerning pieces, and the superintendent was new. They are not opposed to moving their offices to upstairs, but that
Right.
would require funding.
Right.
To which they said, if you can find some, we would entertain that. And so I have not found that funding yet. I haven't been focused on some other things though. So it appears it's not moving at the moment, but.
Okay, you've
the
answered.
path- Is
I'm
that enough?
sorry.
Yeah. That's okay.
Uh,
I was just gonna say the path forward is not clear.
You've answered my question. That's very helpful. Apparently, there was I think we've seen it. There was a note in one of the newspapers, a letter to the editor by an attorney who lives in New Preston, and it has stirred a number of questions to Margaret and me as we wander about town. And I just wanted to be able to speak with a little bit, and they always start the same way. Well, you're on the Economic Development Committee, so, and I just wanted to understand where we are. So that's very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. And let me know if you ever have any more specific questions about that. I believe at the last EDC meeting I met with the superintendent and the board chair.
Right.
Regarding the letter, and spoke with Jim about that, and we're
Yeah.
aware of all the concerns. So, yeah,
Right.
thank you, Dan. All right, if there are no other questions about the work that has been happening, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So we can take a look at the request for this year. So we went over this at our last meeting. I had last year's request up, and we just talked about the things that we thought we should continue, the things that we thought needed more or less. And I just wanted to show you kind of where we found everything finally landed. I also did a little bit of reworking on some of it. Originally it had some timeline information, which it just has been a challenge to stick to. So I adjusted that to really talk more about some of the goals. We've got some tasks and goals, and we can certainly continue to work on these tasks and goals because they're for next year. So we can modify this, add to or subtract, but the funding request had to go in that last week, I think it was. So we'll just go over this just quickly, and then stop me, obviously, if you have any questions. We left, as a committee, decided to leave in some money for printing, for any kind of communication that might be needed for the community center. Nothing has happened since the holidays on the fundraising, and the committee, the programming committee I was meeting with, also took a break for the winter after touring quite a few different other towns' community centers. So that whole project hopefully will get started back up in the spring. The selectmen, it's on the selectmen's agenda to get started on that again. Working with the Housing Commission, did not have a funding request attached to it, but it's something that I continue to work with the Housing Commission, on the goals of the housing plan, so. The next is really the bulk, I think, of what we do, continue to improve and expand the audience engagement with the town's print and social media. Both of these line items needed to increase because due to just increased costs of postage, of paper, of printing. So this increase does not reflect a change. We're not doing anything additional. We're just continuing to do what we have done. I will say the newsletter is in design right now for the March mailing. And we're at the 10 pages and having to do some editing down. So people are getting the hang of getting their articles in on time, which is great. And so I'm gonna have to look at the length of what people have been submitting and try to be fair and equitable about that, because we're having to squish things in. And usually this is one of the smaller ones. So I don't know, we'll have to see if we really feel that it warrants adding another page. And I could get some costs on that, but for now, I think the 10 pages should be good, but I will keep you posted on that. There was a small increase with the cost of providing Explore and all of the social media, but it is not because that contract went up. It did not. It is due to the rising cost of a lot of plugins that go with it. In order for to like upload video to Instagram or to integrate into the MailChimp mailing, all of those subscriptions fees have gone up slightly. So that shows just a very small increase. We spoke last time, Wayne was here. We talked about how the broadband committee is probably going to need to do something this year. Frontier is coming, but we don't know with what. And the state is working with a lot of federal broadband money. So, but they're using that mostly to first do some mapping to see what people have and what they might need. So that was a place that we felt this year there would be work to do. Under the sustainability CT, the objectives that I focus on: thriving local economies, vibrant and creative cultural ecosystems, complete streets, sidewalks, bicycles, parking, and communications. We left $2,000 in for printing some guides. Mostly I'm envisioning for the Welcome Center, putting together a brochure, for example, of touring for the farms, including the wineries as well. Putting together a bike. I've actually spoken with Colin from KC&E Bike Company up in New Preston about working on a brochure for some bike tours. So we left that one in. We did not put any funding under the now subgroup committee's work, which includes the daycare and then some housing options that we didn't really work on this year. Those were from years before, but I still think are important to continue to think about. $1,000 for supplies. We're working with the WBA on all the townwide events or guidebook. So it's a small supply budget for the work that we do with the WBA. I think 8 is a really important goal for this year. We did not tie money to it, but it is trying to get the Titus plan funded, applying for grants through the Department of Transportation or the state. I went to a webinar last week on federal money for transportation. There's a program called Safe Streets that focuses on pedestrian safety that is not open at the moment. They closed that one at the end of last year, but they're anticipating opening again. So I'm going to continue to work to look at that and get the work that we had done ready for grants. And then the last item here, number 9, support the town arts and culture events with town communications. We left the $2,000 in to do that summer postcard again. That was been really successful. And actually, we spoke about that at the Arts Council meeting last week or the week before. And already the people at the table were able to start clarifying some dates. So we're gonna get that put together. And actually, the selectmen, interestingly, for the next year's budget, are going to create a line item for the Arts Council and to put in a clerk for that council. I'm gonna be doing the work until next year's budget. But they also suggested putting in a line item for the council itself to be able to do something, not a huge amount of money. But they would like to see this arts mailing moved to that line item. So we'll see whether it stays with EDC or goes to Arts Council for next year, but. So that is the total of what was put forward with a bottom line of $60,000, which is $2,000 more than last year, but that is all due to the printing increases. Actually reduced some of the project line money last year. The project line was $8,500 last year, and the new initiatives was $2,000 last year. So the request is a little higher, but not. But it's all due to the printing costs. The other thing I wanted to just point out is that I did request for capital that the selectmen continue to fund the sidewalk fund. Every year they put some money into the capital budget for sidewalks, but I encourage them to increase that. I mean, it's going to depend on what how the budget shakes out this year, but every year they do some maintenance. We actually paid for the sidewalks in Preston. That was a town expenditure. I'll continue to look for grants, but I think in the meantime, it's important that the town maintains the sidewalks that we have, the few that we do have in our little business district here. And then I also put in a request for $10,000 for signs/streetscapes in anticipation of the work that we're going to be doing on the signs with the WBA and the Arts Council and whomever. I threw in as sign/streetscape because you know, sometimes when creating a new sign, whether that requires some landscaping or a bench or something else to go with that. We had $10,000 in the capital request 2 years ago, and which has gone towards, it was originally thought that would be a kiosk, but we used it for the welcome center, and that will be wiped out at the end of that project. So that was our request for this year. Does anyone have questions about any of those requests or concerns, suggestions?
Michelle,
Yeah,
I have an idea. I can talk to you, you know, aside from the meeting, on how to streamline the newsletter.
okay,
Okay, I have some ideas on that. I don't want to waste everybody's time, but
that's fine. I'd be happy to talk to you about that. Just out of curiosity, streamlining the process or the,
no,
Content.
the actual page number.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, for just to
Great.
save some money.
Which is great. Well, and actually, in order to even not save money, but because I'm getting so many submissions now, helping them communicate in less space might be useful because
Yeah, sure will.
I don't want to have to turn people away. I'm having to edit down a few articles right now just to make it all fit.
Mhm.
So those thoughts would be great. Thank you.
Good.
I can stop the share on the budget unless somebody has questions. No, okay. It was mostly what we talked about last week, but I just wanted to put it in, to let you see the final version. All right, I don't have anything else. Do we have reports from the WBA? I was hoping Jim would join us, but Fran or Lisa, do you have things to share with us?
I don't have anything on the, I don't know if Fran wants to share about the breakfast and business meeting.
Yeah, I will. Yesterday morning was the first breakfast and business meeting at 8 o'clock at the pantry. And it was extremely well attended. Dinesh and Sarah were the organizers of it. And I mean, there were some people from out of town who they invited, but it was talking about PR and press releases and really how to deal with the physical media. But it was also a great networking event, and it will be held the third Monday of every month. Dan and Margaret were there, so Dan may want to pitch in with his comments, but it's an initiative that's been talked about for a long time. And the fact that it actually happened and was enthusiastically received is a great thing.
Yeah, I would, and Margaret, I'm sure would confirm that it is it's a remarkable collection of people who are business owners or business managers, and who are therefore there to share not only the speaker's agenda, but to share among themselves some of the issues that are paramount. So I definitely applaud the WBA for putting that together. And as a second point, it works extremely well because it's pre-scheduled, 1 hour, all right, and breakfast for $10.
And a very good breakfast as well.
A very, very good breakfast and a wonderful place actually to have it, you know, to wander into the pantry. Let me shift gears with you. Has there been any discussion anywhere in town about the Booth property?
It comes up frequently. Daryl Wright was just asking about the Booth property at the Housing Commission meeting, and I met with Lauren Booth about the property, but it's been several months. She was gonna kind of get back to me, and then it was the holidays, so I will touch base with her again. Because it would be nice to see some movement on that property. So
It would
is
be,
still. Mhm.
I'm sorry,
That's okay. I was gonna say it is still on the market. But I am not aware of any taker, I don't think there's been a lot of activity, but I have not heard recently if they've had any inquiries.
as you know, at one juncture, we had worked through with them both providing town insurance, so that if you wanted to have an event or you wanted to have some level of community engagement, the town insurance covered it. Equally important was that the booths themselves actually lent us, maybe that's not the exact way to phrase it, but sent over their teams. And that enabled us to keep it pretty well pruned up, all right, so that it was quite quite a pleasant place, okay? We put some picnic tables out, all right? And Lauren, as you know, did murals, and she
Mhm.
also had some events in the adjoining lawn. So my sense is that if we actually got into any kind of a rhythm with them, that we might very well be able to sort of clean it up. It's an eyesore as you come into the depot. and it has always sort of gnawed at a number of us in that respect.
Can you educate me and tell me where the Booth property is? I'm
Yeah,
clueless.
the Booth, Tricia, the Booth property is at the intersection of Route 47 going out of town over to Route 202 and 109, where it runs up over the Blackville Pike. Does that ring a bell with you at all?
No.
It's sort of kitty corner from Apple Tree Design. It's like 2 properties up from GW's. So if you go to GW's, you keep going straight out towards the firehouse. It's on the corner there. And
Is
there's
that
a
where
big
that
parking-
mural is?
Yeah, there's a mural. The ASAP mural is still there. The one that Lauren had commissioned to have done started falling down, so she had it taken down. So yeah, it's a commercial property, so it's in the commercial zone. Used to have a restaurant on it. And other thing, there was a
Let's
glass
speak.
blowing. Yeah,
Chicago Club.
it was the Chappaqua Club, it was Jack's, it
Grocery
was
store.
Uh,
all
Chicago
sorts of,
Club.
you know.
It
various
has a
places.
long and rich history.
That,
It is
that
actually
sounds like a good
composed-
place for the affordable housing.
Well,
Yes,
hold your thought, okay? It has actually, it's actually the assembly of 3 separate properties. All right. It is on the market for $1.5 million.
Huh.
All right. And it is graced with some facilities, if you will, already, including some access to water, some access to septic. So from a commercial point of view, by the way, it's on the market at $1.5 million. Okay. From a commercial point of view, it's a very, very attractive proposition. But it in the interim, one of the questions that keeps arising is there something that we could use it for? For example, one of the ideas that was floated several years ago is, could you have electric bike events that started there? Could you have bicycle events that started there? Because it is a very, very comfortable starting point if you want to run down into Steep Rock, down River Road. Okay, so there's a sense anyway that with the support of the booths, okay, it may represent some kind of an opportunity or series of opportunities for events here in town.
yeah, I will follow up with Lauren. I agree, it would be nice to at least get it cleaned up a bit, and I'm surprised actually that they are keeping it mowed just for resale, like if they've really got it on the market, so I think it's been an oversight. I know she does not drive by it regularly,
No.
so
No,
it's kind of out of sight, out of mind for
Right.
her. She lives in Roxbury, so.
and as you know, Mark has some health difficulties, which to some degree I've always thought limit his ability to get involved in it also. Tony Bedini and I several years ago had a chat with them at some length, and that's what then led to a couple of years in which they were very active. And the question is, can we stimulate it again?
Right.
Before I lose you, one other question. Where does SHAG fit into the ANC committee?
So. I guess as just any other organization, Stephanie and Gracia did come to one of the organizational meetings, but then did not choose to put her name into the selectmen to be officially appointed. But it's, they're public meetings and they're all open for anyone to participate. So we're gonna talk, the first meeting was pretty, just organizational, so we didn't throw out a huge, cast for people to attend. But I'm anticipating that that will happen in the future, but they're already on the events calendar for the shack, the actual arts gathering.
Right,
Yeah, so they're in June, I think they're late June, so that's already on the events calendar. And we've been in contact, Stephanie has been on the email lists for a lot of the organization of this. So,
but there's nobody from the Ingracias that's on that committee, is there?
no,
Okay, all right. All right, you've answered my question. Thank you.
you're very welcome. Let's see. Oh, I was just gonna say back to the breakfast. I was sorry I was not able to attend. But I'm glad it was well attended. And I just had one question. The presenter's name I did not recognize. Was she local? Do you guys remember who that was?
No, she's not.
She's
Okay.
from New Milford.
Yeah,
Okay.
Well, yeah, her office.
Okay.
and
I
I
was just
have it, I
wondering,
just
because I was
don't have it
wondering
in
what
front
the,
of me.
I saw the
Yeah.
invite and I was wondering what the topic would be because I didn't recognize her, but so it was.
Yeah, she does PR. Sarah's worked with
Okay.
her before, so but she's out of New Milford.
Okay, great. I'm sorry I missed it. But I plan to be there for the next one. So. Shoot, still don't see Jim, so whatever kept him away must still be keeping him away, so I have
I
nothing
have a
else.
question.
Sure, Tricia.
Just one question.
Sure.
Speaking of property, I heard rumblings that there's something going on at that old abandoned fired Wickham School on Wickham Road there.
Hmm.
Did you hear? Is there something percolating there?
Wow. Boy, that just doesn't go away, does it? So I
Nope.
could never summarize. First of all, I'm not qualified to summarize the last, I don't know, 14 years of 11 years. I forget how many years that's been going on. But I did talk to Shelley about it just last week or the
Yeah.
week before. And we aren't in any new position. The court cases were decided. The owners have a permit to build an inn. And the permit comes with conditions. I forget how many there are, 14, 18, something like that. And so they have been very methodically going through the plans to make sure it meets the conditions. And at each meeting, they have lawyers from the property owner and the town land use people and lawyers and so it's moving forward very slowly. And the neighbors are just continuing to write letters and attend those meetings. I'm a little unclear whether they're just if they want to just watch the process and make sure that the agreement, the conditions are being met, they certainly have every right to do that and should. But there's nothing really that can be changed. It was decided by the courts, so I think it's kind of a done deal. It's just moving very slow, is my
So
understanding.
I had heard that it's possibly going to be a 5-story building.
A 5-story
Well,
building.
Welcome,
I don't.
welcome to Washington's perennial story.
Okay.
Okay,
Anyway.
Wickham Rise Reborn. Okay, so very interesting.
It is, and I don't think it can be 5 stories, but don't quote me on that. I do remember being at one meeting and them talking about the height and trying to decide, well, at what point were they measuring from, because it was built into the slope or something. I did talk to Shelley because it's very confusing and it's hard. It's hard to listen to those meetings without having the list of the conditions in front of you and without seeing plans in front of you. And if you come to the land use office, they are available, but I asked her if she could put those online. And she said they would try to see what they could do. I mean, the plans are huge and multi-paged, but it would be helpful, I think, so that there aren't rumors, because even when you read the minutes of those meetings, and I don't know that all the workshops have minutes. I was trying to find, because sometimes they meet and talk just about Wickham conditions, and it's like a working meeting between the lawyers or something. I don't know if there are minutes to those, so it would be helpful if those were more public, just so people could find them. There are minutes on the zoning website, though. You can see a lot of the history there,
Okay.
going back many years. I'm glad you brought up the building, though. I did want to say that the Litchfield Bank core space here in the depot, the sign just went in the window for lease or for sale. So I went down to because I'd heard that it was going to be purchased. Somebody actually came in and spoke with Jim about purchasing it, or had a meeting with him. But I had been watching the records and I hadn't seen that sale go through yet. So I went down to the health department to ask them if they had heard of anything. And they said that the property owners did come in to speak with them, and that the health inspector did do an on-site visit. But that there was never a formal application. So they were very clear. They did not want me to let anybody think anything had been denied, because it hadn't. There was never an application made. I would just say that there are probably some challenges with putting a restaurant in that site. So it does have a shared septic for the 3 owners of that building. So that building, the post office is one section. Union Savings is a section, and the other is a section. They are owned separately, but they have a joint septic, and I don't know the particulars about how that works, and the health department has nothing on file because it was all done before they kept their records or something. So that's back to being available, as far as I know. And I have not reached back out to the realtor just to see if they're changing their thoughts on anything, whether it's for rent as well, or if it's only for sale. So I will find out. Has anybody heard anything else about that?
Yeah, that space is for rent. He's looking to rent it to as office space. That's what, or add to a retail space, either or. So.
Okay, good. Well, that's good to know. He's willing to rent it.
So he's not looking. I don't think from my understanding is it's up for rental or space for retail or office or whatever, but not to be sold. No, I didn't have that impression. And
Okay, because
the restaurant
originally
thing it's not happening.
Okay, originally it was for sale, so thank you for clearing that up. So for a rental for retail.
Yeah, no, he bought it for the sale. Yeah, the sale did go through. So.
It did. It must have happened in January and those records aren't available yet, because I've been watching.
Who
Okay.
bought it, Lisa?
Bought it for $200,000. It was up for whatever $399, I think, or something.
Yeah,
We got
what
it for
a
a steal.
deal.
And who bought it?
And it was Ross Barton bought it.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay, wow, holy cow, what
And
a
I
deal.
believe, Fran, does he still own the building? He still owns space up above Marty's and that share, right? He has one half and doesn't the Holden
I
have
think
the other
so.
half?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm almost positive that's the way it's divided. Yeah, so I'm yeah. When I was told he bought that space and he's looking to rent it.
Okay, that's good, good information. Boy.
You didn't hear it from me. If you don't know about it, then I'm not the one that told you.
Okay, well, I'll wait. I keep watching the sale
You should know.
records, but
You should know
I
before
haven't
I
been
know.
able, I will, I didn't see it happen in December, but so I'll check for it. Once it hits those, then it's public, so. But for some reason, the online system isn't working and this folder wasn't available when I went in to grab it from Sheila, so. I will keep my eyes open for that. And that is also good to know, because I often have people calling
I'll
my
send, yeah, I'll
office.
send it to you. I have it.
Okay, cool. Great, I don't have anything else other, and those some good questions though, some good discussion. Anyone else have questions, comments? Discussion? No? All right, well, thank you all for being here. I'm going to try to track down those who couldn't make it and see, make sure they're all okay. Rudy did say he would be logging in from afar, but so hopefully all is well with them. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you,
Second,
Dan. Seconded by, is that Tricia?
yep.
Okay. Thank you all so much. Have a great afternoon and evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. You too. Thank you, Michelle.
Bye, thank you.
See you.